The air in the dimly lit laboratory smelled of chemicals and ancient herbs, amidst the strange bubbling potions. I watched as the alien woman, her skin a soft shade of purple, hesitated before the final step of the ritual. Her long, silver hair cascaded down her back, glowing faintly in the unnatural light. She had come to me for help, and now it seemed that everything depended on this one act. "You're sure this is what you want?" I asked, trying to keep the worry out of my voice. The potion she was about to drink was risky, unpredictable, even. She had sought my assistance, asking for a cure to her ailment. But what if this potion wasn't the answer? Her golden eyes locked onto mine, and she nodded with determination. "I trust you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. She raised the vial to her lips, the liquid inside shimmering like liquid stardust. In one swift motion, she drank it all. The instant the potion passed her lips, a strange silence filled the room. Her eyes widened in shock, and then something began to change. Her once calm expression twisted into one of confusion and fear. She staggered back, clutching her head as though the very essence of her being was being torn apart. I rushed to her side. "What's happening to you?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. She was no longer in control. The potion had reacted with something in her biology, something I hadn't anticipated. Her body trembled, and her once perfect features contorted. She fell to her knees, breathing heavily. I don't feel right, ... She gasped, her voice a mix of panic and disbelief. Her eyes began to glow a bright, unsettling blue that illuminated the room. She looked up at me, her expression pleading. You ... You need to fix this. Please ... I knelt beside her, my mind racing. The potion had done something I hadn't prepared for. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The alien princess, once so confident, so regal, was now desperate and vulnerable. And it was my fault. She grabbed my arm, her grip tight and frantic. "Please, you have to help me. I can feel my body changing, losing control. You have to fix it now." I could see the fear in her eyes, the fear of losing herself forever. She had trusted me, and now it seemed I was the only one who could undo the damage. But the truth was, I had no idea how to reverse it. The potion was far beyond anything I had studied. But then, an idea struck me, a risky, dangerous idea. I could try to reverse the effects, but I would have to dive deep into the heart of the problem, into her very essence. It would be risky for both of us, but I had no choice. I grabbed the vial, my hand shaking as I looked at the empty bottle. "Don't worry," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "I'll fix this. Just stay with me." She nodded weakly. Her golden eyes filled with trust and fear. "Hurry ... please." I turned, grabbing the ancient book that contained forbidden knowledge. I began to flip through the pages, desperate for an answer. The clock was ticking, and I had no idea how much time she had before the potion completely took over. I found what I was looking for, an ancient counter-ritual, hidden deep in the tome. But it was going to take time. Time we didn't have. I turned back to her, my heart racing. "This is going to work. Just hold on." She smiled weakly, her grip on my arm loosening. "I'm counting on you." But as I prepared to begin the ritual, something changed. The air grew colder, and I could feel the weight of something powerful and dangerous building in the room. I looked up to see her eyes glowing brighter, almost painfully so. "What is happening to me?" she whispered, her voice shaky. The very air around us began to hum with energy. And I knew then that this was no ordinary potion. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a curse, and it would take all of my strength to break it. The lab was no longer a safe space. It had become a battleground, and in the center of it, She was fighting for her life, and I was her only hope. The hum in the room grew louder, like the sound of distant thunder gathering strength. I glanced at the alien princess, who was still kneeling on the floor, her body convulsing with each breath. The glowing blue in her eyes had intensified too, a blinding brightness like twin suns within her pupils. Her hands were trembling violently, as if the very essence of her being was being torn apart. I could feel the pressure building around us, pressing in from all sides. The air was thick with magic, and it was becoming harder to breathe. Every instinct in me screamed that I needed to act fast. But what could I do? I had no real understanding of this potion, no way to undo what had been done. "Stay with me," I whispered, though my voice felt small and useless against the forces at work here. "Just hold on, please." She looked up at me, her golden eyes wide and filled with fear. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice shaking. "What's happening to me? Why can't I control myself?" I knelt beside her, trying to calm my own racing thoughts. "I don't know yet, but I'm going to fix it, I swear." The potion was supposed to help her, to enhance her powers, but instead, it had begun to destroy her. Her once perfect features were now twisted in agony, her breathing shallow. Her skin, once glowing with health, was now paler, the purple hue darkening to an unhealthy shade. She had trusted me. I had promised to help her, but instead, I had put her in this situation. I turned back to the ancient tome, flipping through the pages with frantic desperation. The counter-ritual I had found was complicated, dangerous even, and I had no idea if it would work. The clock was ticking. I had to hurry. "Focus," I told myself, trying to block out the rising panic. "You can do this. Just stay calm." I found. The Section 1 was looking for a method to reverse the effects of a potion using a rare combination of herbs and incantations. But the ritual required ingredients I didn't have. The herbs were nowhere to be found, and I had no time to search. For them, I looked back at the princess. Her body was twitching now, her muscles spasming as if some force inside her was trying to break free. The blue light in her eyes flickered, and I could see the fear beginning to take hold of her. "Please," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't keep fighting this. It's too strong. Please help me." I felt a surge of guilt, of helplessness. I couldn't lose her. She had come to me for help, and now I had to find a way to save her. I had no choice but to try everything. Without thinking, I grabbed a vial of the strongest potion I had. It was supposed to be a healing elixir, one that could mend wounds and cure illnesses. But I wasn't sure it would work on something like this. But it was the only thing I had left. I knelt beside her, gently lifting her head to pour the elixir into her mouth. She didn't protest, too weak to resist. The liquid slid down her throat, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. Maybe this would work. Maybe I could fix it. But then the room began to shake. The lights flickered, and the floor beneath us vibrated with a low, rumbling noise. The pressure in the air intensified, and I could feel the magic in the potion beginning to spiral out of control. "No," I shouted, jumping to my feet. "This is not happening. Not like this." The princess's body arched back violently, and she screamed a scream so loud and agonizing that it pierced my very soul. It was as if she was being torn apart from the inside. Her golden eyes were now completely white, and her skin was burning with an unnatural heat. The glow from her body was so intense it was blinding, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I had to act fast, or I would lose her. I had to find a way to stop this before it consumed her entirely. My eyes flicked to the book again, my mind racing for any other solution. There had to be something else, some way to stop the magic from destroying her. Then I saw it. A line hidden in the corner of a page, written in a language I didn't understand. But the symbols were familiar symbols of ancient power, the kind I had seen only once before in forbidden texts. This was a last resort, a dangerous one, but it was the only chance I had. I grabbed the vial of glowing liquid that I had prepared for the ritual. The counter-ritual required a sacrifice, something that would bind the potion's magic to me instead of her. It was a selfless act, but it would cost me something. I wasn't sure what, but I couldn't let her suffer any longer. I took a deep breath and poured the potion into my palm, feeling the heat of it spread across my skin. "I'll do this for you," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Just hold on." With trembling hands, I began to chant the ancient words, the ones that had the power to rewrite fate. I could feel the magic in the air, swirling around us like a storm. I could feel the energy building inside me, and with each word, the pressure increased. The ritual was taking hold. Her body convulsed one last time before she went still, her breathing slow and shallow. The light in her eyes flickered, and for a moment, everything was silent. But then, slowly, her eyes opened. They were no longer glowing with the eerie blue light. They were her normal golden eyes, filled with confusion and exhaustion. I exhaled in relief, my heart pounding in my chest. "You're okay?" I whispered, barely able to believe it. It worked. She blinked, looking around the room as if she had just woken from a nightmare. "What happened?" she asked, her voice weak. You were changing," I said, still in shock. "The potion, it had a different effect than we thought. But I did something. You're safe now." She slowly sat up, her strength returning, but her face was still pale. I thought I was going to lose myself," she murmured. "Thank you." I could only nod. She had trusted me, and I had almost failed her. But now we had time to figure out what had really gone wrong, how to make sure it never happened again. The silence in the room felt deafening. For what seemed like an eternity, I just sat there, trying to make sense of what had happened. The princess, no longer glowing, no longer in agony, was now simply sitting on the floor, breathing heavily, her chest rising and falling in slow, steady rhythms. She looked tired, worn out, but alive. Alive, and looking at me with a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "What was that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't have an answer for her. The potion had been meant to enhance her powers, but instead it had nearly consumed her. I had never seen anything like it before. The ancient texts had hinted at dangerous consequences, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. It had been a gamble from the start, and I had barely kept her from losing everything. I don't know," I said, my voice betraying my own shock. "But you're safe now. You're not changing anymore." Her golden eyes met mine again, but there was something different about them now. A deeper trust, maybe, or perhaps a new level of fear. But how? What did you do to stop it? I paused, unsure of how to explain. I used a counter-ritual, a self-sacrifice. It bound the potion to me instead of you. It's dangerous. I'm not sure what it will cost me, but I had to do it. I couldn't let you lose yourself. She nodded slowly, her gaze softening. You saved me. The words were simple, but the weight of them carried a heavy burden. I hadn't saved her, not really. I had only delayed what could happen next. The potion wasn't gone. It was just hidden, buried deep inside me. And I wasn't sure how long I could hold it back. "Thank you," she said again, her voice still shaky, but filled with emotion. I looked away, feeling the burden of the magic inside me growing stronger by the second. You should rest. We don't know what the effects will be yet. I don't know how long the counter-ritual will hold. We need to be careful. She didn't argue. Instead, she lowered her head and closed her eyes, her long silver hair spilling around her like a cascade of molten metal. For a moment, the room was still, but the tension was thick, and I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was far from over. But it wasn't the potion that worried me now. It was something else, something I couldn't ignore. There was more to this than just a botched potion. Something had gone wrong at a deeper level. I needed answers. And to get them, I had to ask her the right questions. After a long silence, I spoke again, my voice calm but firm. Tell me everything. About the potion, about what you were trying to achieve. I need to understand what went wrong. This can't happen again. She opened her eyes, meeting my gaze, and I saw the flicker of something hidden in her expression. A secret, perhaps. She hesitated before speaking, as if choosing her words carefully. The potion, she began, her voice steady but filled with an edge of uncertainty, was meant to enhance my powers. I was seeking an ancient form of energy to protect my people. But I didn't realize the full risks. I was desperate to stop the war, to ensure we survive. Her words hung in the air, and I could feel the gravity of her mission. The princess wasn't just an alien princess seeking personal power. She was the leader of her people, fighting to protect them from something far more dangerous than I could imagine. But why come to me? I asked, my confusion growing. You had so many other resources. You could have found someone more skilled than me. Her gaze dropped to the floor as she seemed to gather her thoughts. I was told you could help, that you had knowledge beyond what others possessed, that you could take the risks others couldn't. I frowned. Who told you that? She looked up again, her golden eyes meeting mine with a flash of vulnerability. I can't say. But they promised me that you were the only one who could help me harness the power I needed. I stared at her for a long moment, trying to make sense of her words. Something about this didn't sit right. If she had been misled, then the danger wasn't just the potion itself, was the source of her information. Someone had intentionally led her here, knowing that this experiment would fail. But who? Princess? I began carefully. What else? Did they tell you? What exactly was the power you were trying to tap into? She looked away, her expression clouding with worry. It's not something I can explain easily. It's forbidden knowledge, ancient and dangerous. But if I didn't do it, my people would fall. There's a war coming, one that none of us are prepared for. I stepped closer, my curiosity piqued. What kind of war? A kind where survival isn't a choice, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. A war against creatures from beyond. The stars. We don't even know who they are or what they want, but we've been preparing for it for generations. They're coming, ... and we won't survive without that power. I didn't know what to say. Her words weighed heavily on me. What kind of enemies could be so terrifying that they forced an entire civilization to take such extreme measures? And why had she come to me for help? I had no answers, just more questions. But one thing was clear. The stakes had risen far beyond. A simple potion gone wrong. The princess was involved in something far bigger, and whether I liked it or not, I had just been dragged into the middle of it. She looked at me then, her golden eyes filled with something I hadn't seen before: determination. I don't know what will happen next, she said, her voice steady once again. But I need your help. I can't do this alone. I nodded slowly. I'll help you, but you have to trust me. We need to uncover the truth about the potion, about your enemies, and about everything that's led us here. She nodded, her resolve strengthening. Then we have no time to waste. As I looked at her, I realized that the real battle was just beginning. The potion was only a small part of the story. The real danger lay ahead, and if we didn't stop it, the universe itself might be at risk. The days following the ritual were filled with tension. The princess, now fully recovered from the effects of the potion, seemed to be battling her own inner turmoil. Every time I looked at her, I could sense the weight of her secret pressing down on her. She had told me about the war, the mysterious enemies, and the dangerous power she was trying to tap into. But there was still so much she wasn't saying. We spent hours in the laboratory, poring over ancient texts and researching the potion's origins. Every lead brought us to more questions than answers, and the clock was ticking. The war she spoke of was drawing closer, and I couldn't help but feel that we were running out of time. "You're sure this is all we have?" I asked, staring at the pages of the ancient book. The princess was standing near the window, her gaze fixed on the darkening horizon. "It's all I've got," she said quietly. "The power I need is hidden within these texts, but it's incomplete. There's something missing, something vital." I glanced at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "You said the potion was supposed to help you find that power." She nodded, but her expression was filled with doubt. "It was supposed to be the key, but it twisted things. I thought the potion would lead me to the source of the power I needed, but it only uncovered the darkness inside me. The magic, it felt wrong, like it had its own mind, its own will." Could sense the fear in her voice, and it only made me more concerned. What was this power she was seeking? What kind of magic could be so dangerous that it could consume the very being of a princess like her? "You said there were enemies coming," I said, trying to focus on the bigger picture. "How do you know they're after this power?" Her eyes flickered. "With uncertainty, I've seen the signs. Strange ships appearing in the sky, whispers among my people of an invasion. But we don't know who they are, where they're from, or what they want. All we know is that they're coming, and we won't survive unless I can unlock this power." I frowned, trying to digest the magnitude of her words. An entire civilization facing an unknown enemy from the stars. It sounded like something out of a nightmare. And yet, here we were, in the heart of the conflict, with no answers. "But how does this power work?" I asked. "What is it exactly?" The princess sighed, her shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world was pressing down on her. "It's the ability to control energy, raw, untamed power. The ancients who created this magic were able to harness the very essence of the universe. They could bend space, time, and matter to their will. I thought I could use it to defend my people, but the potion eats warped everything. I'm afraid of what it could do to me." She turned away, her voice barely a whisper. I was willing to risk everything. But now I don't know if I can control it. A silence fell between us, heavy with the unspoken words that lingered in the air. I wanted to help her, to fix this, but how could I when I didn't even fully understand what we were dealing with? "We need to figure out what went wrong," I said, breaking the silence. "The potion, the magic kits, all connected. There's something we're missing." She nodded, her golden eyes filled with resolve. "Then we find it, whatever it takes." We continued our research, working late into the night, but nothing came close to the answers we sought. The potion had been designed to enhance her abilities, but it had also unlocked something darker, something dangerous. Every time we uncovered a new piece of information, it only made the mystery deeper. Then, as we were reviewing the last of the texts, something caught my eye. A symbol hidden in the margins of one of the pages. It was small, almost like a footnote, but something about it stood out. It was the same symbol that had appeared in the ritual when I had first performed the counter-ritual on the princess. A minute, I muttered to myself, "This symbol, ... It's connected to the magic in the potion." The princess walked over, her curiosity piqued. "What is it?" I pointed to the symbol on the page. It's part of a forbidden language, one that was lost to most of the galaxy. It's a type of binding magic designed to tie a person's soul to a source of power. It wasn't just the potion that did this to you. It was the magic inside it. Her eyes widened in realization. So the potion wasn't just enhancing my powers, it was binding me to the energy source itself. That's why it felt so wrong. It wasn't just giving me power, it was taking control of me. I nodded grimly. And that's why the magic is so unpredictable. The potion was never meant to be used by someone like you. It wasn't just a tool, it was a trap. The princess stepped back, her expression torn between fear and determination. We have to break the bond. We can't let this power control me. I need to be free of it before it consumes me completely. But even as she spoke, I could sense the unease growing in the air. The energy from the potion wasn't just inside her, was inside both of us now. And breaking the bond wouldn't be as easy as reversing the potion. The magic had already taken root deep within us both. How do we break it? I asked, my voice tight with anxiety. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned to the book again, scanning the pages with a newfound urgency. There's one way, she said slowly. But it's dangerous, too dangerous. It requires a sacrifice. I looked at her, my heart racing. What kind of sacrifice? She met my gaze, her expression resolute. The magic requires balance. To destroy it, we have to give up something of equal value. And the only way to break the bond is to sever the connection by sacrificing the one thing that connects us to the power. I swallowed hard. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. A sacrifice. It could be my life, or worse hers. I can't let you do that, I said, my voice strained. There has to be another way. She shook her head. There isn't. This is the only way to save both of us and everyone else who might be caught in the crossfire. Her eyes met mine, filled with an unspoken understanding. She had made her decision, and now I had to make mine. The tension in the air was palpable, as if the very walls of the room were closing in around us. The princess's words echoed in my mind, her decision to sacrifice something of equal value to break the bond with the magic. I couldn't shake the dread that settled in my chest. What kind of price were we talking about? And how far was I willing to go to help her? She turned back to the book, her fingers trembling slightly as she flipped through the pages with purpose. The ritual to sever the bond isn't simple, she said quietly, as if speaking more to herself than to me. It requires both of us our combined energy. The magic is too strong for just one of us to control. I paced the room, trying to make sense of it all. The magic had already taken root in both of us, intertwining our fates. Every moment, I could feel it pulsing through me, clawing at my very soul. I knew that if we didn't act soon, we would lose control completely. But the cost of breaking the bond, sacrificing something of equal value, was a terrifying thought. What exactly does the ritual require? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the unease gnawing at me. She hesitated, her golden eyes filled with uncertainty. We need to draw from each other's life force. The magic feeds off our energy. We must sever the connection by making a sacrifice of that energy, something we both willingly give up. I stopped pacing and looked at her. And how do we know what to give up? That's the part I don't fully understand, she admitted, her voice tinged with fear. The magic doesn't work unless we each give up something irreplaceable, something that binds us to the power itself. It could be a memory, a part of our identity, or even ... our very essence. The gravity of her words hit me like a physical blow. A sacrifice of our identity, of who we were at our core. Could I really give up something so essential to myself? Could I give up something that defined me, that made me who I was? I'm not sure I can do that, I murmured, my thoughts spiraling. I don't even know what I would have to give up. What if it's too much? What if it destroys me? She stood up, her expression hardening with resolve. Then we have no choice. If we don't break the bond now, the magic will consume us both. It's the only way to stop it. I watched her carefully. She had made up her mind, but I wasn't so sure. Could we really take that risk? Could I afford to give up something so precious, something I might never get back? What if we fail? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What happens then? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked down at her hands as if she was trying to come to terms with the enormity of what lay ahead. Finally, she spoke. We don't have the luxury of failure. The enemies I warned you about, they're already moving toward us. If we don't stop the magic, they will find us, and when they do, they'll use it against us. They'll use it to destroy everything. Her words sent a chill through my spine. The enemies she spoke of weren't just some distant threat. They were real, and they were coming. If we didn't break the bond and stop the magic, we would be vulnerable not just to the magic's power, but to those who sought to control it. I looked at her then, my gaze meeting hers. There was no turning back now. The only way out was through. All right, I said, my voice steady despite the storm raging in my mind. Let's do it, but we do this together. No one makes the sacrifice alone. She nodded, her expression softening. Together, we began preparing for the ritual. The book, still open on the table, guided our every move. I gathered the ingredients, rare herbs, glowing crystals, and vials of liquid that shimmered with power. The ritual had to be precise. One mistake and everything could go wrong. As I set the altar, the room grew colder, the air thick with the magic that pulsed between us. The princess stood beside me, her hands trembling slightly as she placed her own vial on the table. I could see the weight of what we were about to do pressing down on her, but she didn't show it. She was a princess, a leader, and now she had to be something more, a warrior in her own right. I took a deep breath and turned to face her. We don't know what will happen after this, I said softly, my voice steady. We might lose everything, but we're doing the right thing. Her eyes locked onto mine, her golden gaze fierce and unwavering. We'll make it through. We have to. I nodded, then took her hand. We both closed our eyes and began the chant, the ancient words flowing between us like a current. The magic reacted almost immediately, swirling in the air around us. A warmth spread through my body, a heat that was both comforting and terrifying at the same time. I could feel the magic moving inside me, pulling at my very being. It was the same force that had been inside the potion, the same power that had twisted the princess. But this time, I was in control. This time, I could break the bond. We chanted louder, the words growing more intense as we reached the heart of the ritual. I felt my life force being pulled from me, felt my identity beginning to slip away. But I held on, refusing to let go. The princess's grip tightened on my hand, and I could feel her energy flowing into me, her power merging with mine, and then the moment came. The sacrifice. I knew what I had to give up. It wasn't a choice, it was the only way to sever the bond with every ounce of my will. I let go of the one thing that had always defined me, my fear. The moment I released it, I felt a sharp pull inside me, like a rope being cut. The magic that had been binding us snapped, and the room erupted with a burst of light. The world seemed to spin around me, and for a moment I thought I was going to lose myself. But then, just as suddenly, it stopped. I opened my eyes to find the princess standing before me, her golden eyes filled with wonder. "It's over," she whispered, her voice soft with relief. I glanced down at my hands, feeling lighter than I had in a long time. The magic was gone, broken, severed. And yet, something had changed inside me. Oh, I could feel it, something powerful, something new. The sacrifice had worked. The princess stepped forward, her face soft with gratitude. You saved us." I looked at her, a sense of peace washing over me. "No," I said quietly. "We saved each other." The air was still, the silence almost suffocating after the ritual. I stood in the center of the room, trying to process what had just happened. The magic that had once bound us was gone, severed completely, but it left behind a heavy feeling. In the pit of my stomach, the world around me had shifted, and I could feel the aftershocks of the ritual pulsing through me. The princess stood quietly by the window, her back to me. The soft glow from the distant stars outside bathed her in pale light. She was still, almost too still, and I could tell that she, too, was trying to come to terms with what we had just done. "You okay?" I asked, my voice rough from the intensity of the ritual. She didn't turn around at first, but after a moment, she spoke. "I should feel relieved, shouldn't I? The bond is broken, the magic is gone, and we've stopped the worst of it. But something ... something feels different." I took a slow step toward her, trying not to let the unease creep into my voice. "It's going to take time. We both gave up something, sacrificed parts of ourselves to break the magic. It's not just something you can undo with a snap of your fingers. It's a part of you now, and it will take time to heal." She nodded, but didn't speak, her gaze fixed on the stars outside. I could feel her uncertainty, the fear that lingered despite our victory. What had we really achieved? The war she had spoken of still loomed ahead, and the enemies she had warned me about, whoever they were still out there, waiting. "I have to know something," I said, my voice quiet. "What happens now? The magic's broken, but the war is still coming. Do you still need that power, or have we stopped it?" She turned. Slowly, her expression unreadable. The power the magic kit was meant to be a last resort. But now... She paused, her golden eyes searching mine, as if looking for the answer I couldn't give her. "Now, I don't know if I can trust myself to use it. I've seen what it can do. It almost destroyed me. What if I can't control it? What if I still need it to save my people?" Her words struck me like a blow. Despite everything we had gone through, despite the sacrifice we had both made, the princess was still uncertain. The power was still a part of her, whether she liked it or not. And with that power came the weight of her responsibility to her people, to the future of her planet. I took a deep breath, stepping closer to her. "You've done enough. You're not alone in this. You don't have to carry the weight of your people's survival on your shoulders." She shook her head, her eyes flashing with a mixture of frustration and determination. "You don't understand. It's not just about me. If I don't do this, my people will fall. I can't let that happen." I placed a hand on her shoulder, trying to steady her. "You don't have to carry it alone. You don't have to make every decision by yourself." Her gaze softening. "But I do. If I fail, it will be my people who suffer, and I can't let that happen." I saw the weight of her words in her eyes. She wasn't just a princess or a leader, she was a protector, someone willing to risk everything for those she loved. I couldn't deny the strength in her resolve, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that she was carrying too much for one person to bear. "Then we'll fight together," I said, my voice steady. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." She nodded slowly, her eyes meeting mine with a new understanding. Together. We stood there for a moment in silence, letting the words hang in the air. I knew this wasn't the end. There was still so much more to do. The war was still coming, and the enemy she had spoken of, those who sought the power she had nearly unleashed, were still out there. But for the first time since all of this started, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could survive this. Together, the next few days passed in a blur of preparation. We gathered everything we could, learning more about the enemies she had warned me about. They weren't just any invading force, they were a highly advanced species, capable of using the same kind of magic that had almost consumed the princess. They were coming, and they were coming fast, but we couldn't wait any longer. The princess knew that her people couldn't hold out much longer without their queen's guidance, and I knew that if we didn't act now, it would be too late. We had to stop the war before it started. I found myself standing beside her once more, this time not as her guide, but as her equal. "Do you trust me?" I asked, my voice low. She turned to face me, her expression one of quiet resolve. "I do." The air around us felt charged with an electric energy. Everything we had worked for, everything we had sacrificed, was leading to this moment. I reached for the communicator, activating the ship's system. It hummed to life, the glow of the console lighting up the dark room. We were ready. The next phase of our plan was set in motion. "All right," I said, turning to her. "We're going to need all the help we can get. This isn't just your fight anymore. It's ours, together." She nodded once more, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. Confidence. She had her people to protect, yes, but now she had something else, to a partner, a friend, and together we could fight the darkness that threatened to consume them all. With a final look toward the stars outside, we stepped forward, ready to face the unknown. There was no turning back now. The stars outside the window seemed to flicker like distant flames, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the challenges that lay ahead. We were no longer just two individuals caught in a dangerous web of magic and destiny. We had become something more, a team, ready to face whatever came next. The war was on the horizon, and we were the last line of defense. The princess stood beside me, her posture strong, her gaze fixed on the stars. For the first time in days, she looked like the leader I had always known she could be. Her shoulders were no longer weighed down with the burden of carrying it all alone. Now, she had a partnered someone to share the responsibility, someone to fight beside her. I turned to her, my voice steady. "We've come this far. We can do this." She looked at me, her golden eyes filled with a quiet determination. "I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for everyone who depends on us. I won't let them fall." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. She wasn't just fighting for her people. She was fighting for the future of her world. Enemies she had warned me about weren't just an external threat. They were a challenge to everything she had worked to protect. But now, she wasn't facing them alone. "We'll stop them," I said, my voice firm, "no matter what it takes." With that, we set our plan into motion. The princess had contacted her Elizos few who were still loyal to her cause. They gathered in secret, far away from the enemy's reach, ready to lend their support. But our enemies weren't fools. They knew how powerful the princess's magic was. They knew that if they could control her, they would control the fate of the galaxy. That was why they were coming, because they wanted the power she had nearly unleashed, the very magic that had almost consumed her. We moved swiftly, using the cover of darkness to slip past the enemy's forces. The princess led us, her every step calculated, her every decision precise. We were no longer just reacting to the threats around us, we were taking the fight to them. As we approached the enemy's stronghold, I could feel the magic swirling in the air again. It was the same feeling I had experienced during the ritual, the same power that had once bound us. But this time, I wasn't afraid of it. I had learned to control it, to harness it for something greater than my own fear. "We're almost there," the princess whispered, her voice a mix of resolve and anticipation. "Once we break through their defenses, we can stop them for good." I nodded, gripping my weapon tightly. The fight was about to begin, and everything we had worked for, everything we had sacrificed, was leading to this moment. The first wave of enemy soldiers came at us fast, too fast. They were relentless, their armor sleek and strong, their weapons deadly. But we had something they didn't. We had each other. The princess moved with the speed and precision of a warrior, her magic crackling around her as she unleashed waves of energy. It was like nothing I had ever seen, raw, untamed, and beautiful in its power. Her golden eyes glowed brighter than ever as she tapped into the energy that had once terrified her. She wasn't just using the magic to fight. She was becoming it. I fought beside her, my heart pounding as the battle raged around us. The enemy was fierce, but they were no match for the combined strength of a human and an alien princess bound together by a shared purpose. The war they had planned, the destruction they had hoped to bring, was crumbling in front of them. We're breaking through. I shouted over the noise of the battle, my voice filled with adrenaline. We're almost there. The princess nodded, her face focused, but I could see the strain in her eyes. The magic she had embraced was powerful, but it was also draining. Each time she used it, a part of her slipped away, a part that she could never get back. I knew it was the price she had to pay to protect her people, but I couldn't help but fear what the cost would be in the end. With one final push, we breached the enemy's inner sanctum. The last wave of resistance stood before Hassan's army of elite soldiers, each one a formidable opponent. But we were ready. Together, we had become something more than the sum of our parts. And now we were fighting not just for survival, but for the future. The princess raised her hands, summoning the full force of the magic within her. "This ends now," she cried, her voice resonating with power. In an instant, the room was filled with a blinding light. The soldiers screamed as the energy surged around them, their weapons useless against the magic that tore through the air. I stood beside her, watching as she unleashed everything she had, everything she was, the enemy. The battle was over in moments, the air still and quiet as the light faded. We stood amidst the wreckage, panting and bruised, but victorious. "It's done," the princess said quietly, her voice tinged with exhaustion. I looked at her, my heart filled with both relief and sorrow. The war was over, but I could see the toll it had taken on her. The magic had drained her, taking more from her than I could ever understand. But she had done it. She had saved her people. "You did it," I said softly, my voice filled with awe. She turned to me, her golden eyes filled with a sadness I couldn't place. "We did it," she corrected me. "I couldn't have done this without you." I smiled, though it was bittersweet. We both sacrificed something, but it was worth it. For a long moment, we just stood there, the weight of the battle finally lifting. The princess had saved her world, and in doing so, she had become something more than she ever thought possible. And so had I. But as we looked out into the stars, I knew that this wasn't the end. There would always be new challenges, new battles to fight, but we were ready. Together, we could face anything.